Right. BS Show, episode 7 is back. I am your co-host, Sean Gancars, along with Justin Chasmore, and finally able to get together, do a little live show here. Chaz, no phone calls today.
Yeah, it's a big day. It's been a while.
Big day.
You know, back together for a live show. It's always better to do it like this. Phone call's good and everything, but anytime we could be in the same room while we do, it's definitely a plus.
Yeah, it is, and although phone calls been treating us well, another big week last week. We went 5-1. Overall records 22-11-3. You could add Gonzo, who is now 5-2 after that Thursday night win with Pittsburgh, who absolutely demolished the Carolina Panthers. And whole week of slate of games again for you guys. But before we get into it, let's go back last week a little and recap some of the bigger games. We saw the Rams lose for the first time this year to the Saints, and the Saints have just looked very impressive. Winners of, I believe, 8 straight now after their Week 1 loss to Tampa Bay. With that win, Chaz, are they the best team in the NFC and possibly the NFL right now, you think?
Yeah, you have to definitely give them that credit. They beat the only undefeated team in a shootout fashion. So that was definitely a fun game. Definitely lived up to all the hype all week. You saw them come out big lead in the first half, and then here come the Rams storming back, cut it into a one-possession game, and then Drew Brees at home just prevailed. And I was pretty happy because I actually took the Saints last week. So the Saint team is at home is just so hard to beat, and it took everything they had though to beat that Ram team. So everything that we as fans hoped for that game, it's definitely what we got. And as a fan, I was pleased not only because I bet the Saints, but even if I had no money on it, that was just a fun game. Seeing all those points fly around, seeing the Rams make a comeback, Saints hold them off. I thought it was just a great game all around.
Yeah, it definitely was a fun one to watch. I actually thought the Rams would win that one. I still like the Saints out of the NFC. I thought the Rams were just playing too well. I thought they were going to take down the regular season, and I thought once those two teams meet again in the playoffs, that's when Drew Brees, who looks like he's on one of his magical seasons here late in his career, was going to go get the job done. Just the way Drew Brees is playing right now at this age, this point of his career, like I just said, it's almost storybook for him to not end it in the Super Bowl playing in that game. I think he's honestly going to be there. That game last week taught us a lot about it. And then we had another big game, though, with the Packers and Patriots, and we learned that the Patriots are still very good. But the biggest question I got out of that game is, what are the Green Bay Packers now? They fall to under 500. Unfortunately, tough part of their schedule. They had 2 games in a row against the Rams and Patriots. Chance to get back on track this week when they play Miami. But where do you see the Packers going from here? Are they a playoff team in this tough NFC, or did you learn something from them Sunday night?
Just watching this Green Bay team all year, I think this team as a whole just isn't what they used to be. And yeah, they still have Aaron Rodgers, and he's one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the NFL. But when you look at this team overall and their defense and the way that the offense is playing with limited playmakers, other than Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, this team it's just different than past years. And this year, I think I don't see them as a playoff team right now. And last week, all the hype was around Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. Going to be the last time they play against each other, and going to be a shootout and all that. And following the New Orleans game, we were all happy at that game, but then we get the Green Bay game, and we were expecting another shootout. We were expecting Brady and Rodgers to go back and forth, and we didn't get it. And as a fan, I felt like it was almost a disappointment, and because neither quarterback really played well. I think Rodgers threw for like 250, 260, and 2 touchdowns, which, yeah, is a good game, but when you look at it in hindsight, the stage they were on and who they were going against, I don't think either quarterback played up to what we were expecting as fans. Neither quarterback threw for over 300 yards, and the defenses actually played well, and neither of those two defenses are very good. So I was very impressed with the New Orleans game as a fan. I was very pleased with that. But the night game, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't very impressed. But this Green Bay team, I don't see them as a playoff team. We'll get more into that later when we talk about this week's game. But as of right now, they're sitting at 3-4-1. I don't think they have enough firepower to, especially in a loaded NFC. I don't see them as a playoff team.
Yeah, and like you said, we'll get into it more when we get to the Green Bay game. But this team, I feel like, tends to be right around the 500 mark this time of the season, like they are now. And it was only a couple of years ago when they were 4-6, and Aaron Rodgers ran the table all the way to the NFC Championship game before losing in Atlanta. And when you have Aaron Rodgers on your team, lucky enough, you always have a chance to maybe go and run the table, but it's not the same Packer team, like you said, that we're used to seeing. I'm not too sure he'll do it this year, but it is Aaron Rodgers, and anything he does, nothing surprises me anymore. And a chance against Miami this week to get that win and get that team rolling. But we'll have to wait and see. But let's get into this week's of games. I'm going to start off slow. A couple of the not as good games, ones that most people probably won't be watching. Starting at MetLife Stadium, where the Bills will be traveling to take on the Jets. Jets 7-point favorites here. Already going to start off my stay away game here, though. The two teams combined for 32.7 points per game, where the over/under is only 36.5. Possibly the lowest I can remember for this season that I've seen. Teams on 3 and 4 game losing streaks. No Sam Darnold for the Jets, and as you said to me, probably about 20 minutes before we started the show, Matt Barkley coming in and starting for the Bills. So the quarterback matchup is very questionable to begin with. Points are going to be at a premium this game. I think the Jets are going to win it. I wrote down 7-3 kind of as a joke. I won't be surprised if that's the case, but the Jets winning a 13-6, 13-7 type game here is what I expect to see.
This game should, like you said, stay away. Last week we said stay away from Jets-Dolphins, and I hope you all did, because that was a shit show. A lot because of the weather there. Those playing conditions were just horrible. Sam Darnold played horribly, and the only reason the Dolphins won is because they had pick 6. But this game should definitely be stayed away from. Matt Barkley against Josh McCown. I don't know who would really want to watch this game. And the Jet team being favored by 7 points. The Bills are horrible. But the Jets win this game. The over-under, like Ganc said, 36.5 is just a joke. And it probably will go under. But an over-under being that low just shows you how bad these two teams are playing right now. And, they're both playing on backup. Well, the Bills' fourth-string quarterback. The Jets' backup quarterback. But this game is just going to be a mess. And I have the Jets winning 17-6, so I have them covering. But definitely going under.
Yeah,
but I would definitely stay away.
When you put the over/under at 36.5, it's like when you get a really high over, you're more than likely actually going to get it. And when you get a really low over, it's more than likely going to go under. I, too, think this one goes under, but I will not be touching this game in any aspect. Spread over/under, it's a stay-away game. Next game, I don't think it's completely stay away, but we do have a massive spread here where the Chiefs are 16.5 point favorites at home. Very rarely do you ever see a 3-score spread in the NFL, and we got one here. Line's been, like I said, it's at Chiefs 16.5 now. It's been up to 17. Wouldn't be surprised if late money on the Chiefs even jacks it up to close to an 18 number. Kansas City's 101 point differential is the best in the NFL right now. Arizona has a slightly better defense than Kansas City, but that's really not saying much because Kansas City's defense hasn't been that impressive, and there's no way, I just don't see where Kansas City at home doesn't take care of business here. I actually have them covering that big spread. Questionable about betting it, but I don't think it's a bad bet to make, and I got the Chiefs winning this one 31-10.
We're close on that prediction. But, yeah, this game, it's possibly the worst team in the NFL versus the best team in the NFL, depending on your site and your input on who's the best and who's the worst. But this Cardinal team is bad. This Chiefs team is really good. And like you said, 16.5 points is a lot to lay in an NFL game. You very rarely see that. We saw a 17-point line this year where the Bills traveled to Minnesota and the Bills actually won. But I don't see that happening here. I don't see the Cardinals covering here simply because the Chiefs are just going to put up so many points. The Cardinals' defense is a strong suit of their team, but their team is not good. So I'm not really going to say that's a very good thing. But the way this offense for the Chiefs are playing, I don't see anyone slowing them down, especially not a Cardinal team on the road coming to Arrowhead. This Chief team is too much for any defense to handle, let alone a 2-6 team coming on the road. I think this is a blowout. I got the Chiefs winning this one 34-9.
Yeah, that's pretty similar right there. And if we want to get technical there, both of our scores are going under the 49.5 point total. High number for an offense like the Cardinals that average little under 14 points a game, 2 touchdowns a game. They're at about 13.7 if I'm remembering correctly. And if you want that over-under a hit, it's going to have to be all Kansas City, which they have shown are capable of putting up points, but I stay away from that number total. Game 3 we got this week, Matt Ryan back in his MVP form, going to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Falcons laying 6 points here, and the Falcons, currently on a 3-game winning streak here, really have a chance to get back over the 500 mark here and start making a push in the NFC. A lot of people saw the Falcons as a good team this year, lost a lot of close games early, which hurt them, but they seem to be right in the ship here. Like I said at the start, Matt Ryan is back into his MVP form. He's thrown for almost 2,700 yards. He's got 19 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions. It's the defense that's been hurting the Falcons this year, but I don't think that's going to be a problem in this game. I think Matt Ryan's going to continue to stay hot. I think he puts up points. The over-under at 50.5, I think is actually a good bet this game. I think even Baker Mayfield will get a couple points, but it's not going to be enough to beat this Atlanta team that's really starting to get the ball rolling here. I got them winning 35-23.
Yeah, this Falcon team is kind of hitting their stride here, and they kind of have to in an NFC South that is loaded with the Saints and Panthers. I know the Panthers lost on Thursday, but you have those two teams ahead of you. This Falcon teams need to keep rattling off wins to stay in the NFC playoff picture, even as a wild card. And there's no better time to keep it rolling than against the Browns. Even though you're on the road, you have to take care of business here. This is a very winnable game, obviously, and I would kind of want to call it a must-win for them, because if they drop this game to the Browns and they go to 4-5 in the NFC, that's going to be tough to rebound from. But Falcons is, like you said, coming in on a 3-game win streak. Browns on a 4-game losing streak. So both these teams going in opposite directions right now. Browns defense is banged up. They just put 2 starters on the IR this week, and linebacker Christian Kirksey and cornerback E.J. Gaines. So that defense is going to be hurting. They also lost Denzel Ward last week. I would assume, is going to play this week, but you have to think he's going to be less than 100%. And
playing well for a rookie.
Playing very well for a rookie. And when you're playing the Falcons, you don't want your defense to be banged up, and unfortunately, that's where the Browns find themselves. And then like you said, Falcons defense, they have been decimated by injuries this year. But Deion Jones has practiced. He's not going to play this week, but he's coming back sometime soon. They also just added Bruce Irvin on defense, and I think that's going to be a big boost for them.
It's West Virginia legend Bruce Irvin too.
Yeah, baby, a little ear action, but I think Bruce Irvin's going to make an impact this week in some way, shape, or form. He's excited to play in Atlanta and be on a team that is contending, unlike Oakland. And I went against the Falcons last week. I'm with them this week. I think they cover the 6. I got them winning this one 31-20. So I think they my predictions, they cover the over by half a point.
Wow, that's...
It's bold.
Where you got the... I mean, I had the over at 50.5. I've seen it fluctuate from 50 to 50.5.
I had 50.5, so
yep.
If not, okay. I got 50, 51.
Yeah, so you got to just push, and I think it's one that actually hits pretty easy, and just defenses that rank 28 and 30th in the NFL in a game that Matt Ryan's involved in the rate he's playing this year. Definitely should see points in it.
Definitely. And I think, like you said, I think the Browns and Baker could put up more points than what I said, but I think Atlanta covers, and I think the over will hit.
Next game, I think, is actually a key AFC South battle. Two teams with 3 wins. The Texans on a bye right here. You have a chance to get a half game back on them when the Jaguars travel to Indy. Colts laying 3 points here. Jaguars have not won since the end of September. They lost 4 in a row. Their last win came against a Jet team that, as we talked about earlier, has just not been that good this year. Colts have won 2 in a row, trying to get the ball rolling with Andrew Luck now back in the pocket this year after his injury-prone season past year and a half. But those 2 wins come against the Raiders and Bills, so you can make an argument for as 2 of probably the worst teams in the league. But that AFC, for both these teams, that 6th seed, that wild card, is wide open between numerous teams in the AFC. It's going to be a fun race to watch down the stretch of this season, I think. And the winner of this game is to get themselves right in that mix for it. The Jaguars' offense, after a hot start this year, has been brutal and ranked 29th in the league in points per game. The Colts, Andrew Luck has been playing very well, but when you look at the matchup this game, the Jaguars' defense is still number 2 in the league, and Andrew Luck facing this secondary, I think, could actually cause problems for the Colts. Jaguars have had a lot of injuries in the secondary. Guys coming back this week. Even on the offensive side of the ball, probably get to see Leonard Fournette come back this week. And I just think the Jaguars match up really well against the Colts if they're going to be coming back healthy. And I got them winning a close one here in an upset, 26-24.
Wow, we're calling the first upset together. I like it. No, this game is a very under-the-radar game this week and has massive playoff indications as well as AFC South implications. And I don't think the AFC South is won by the Texans yet. And I was really leaning towards the Colts and the way Andrew Luck has played, and they're playing the next 3 games at home, and I think they could get the ball rolling, but I'm with you here. I think the Jags win this game. And like you said, it's the defensive side of the ball. And this Jags defense, I think they're just tired of losing. I think they've hit their breaking point.
Their defense is too good to lose this many games in a row, I think.
Exactly. And like you said, they've been hurt. A.J. Boye has come back this week, which is going to be a huge boost. And Leonard Fournette will be back on the offense side of the ball, which is a huge boost. But I think this Jags team is, although they've faded and people have kind of forgotten about them, I think they get back on track here. And Indy -3, the only reason they're favored is because they're home, obviously.
I agree. Yep.
But I mean, they're both sitting at 3-5 in opposite directions. But like you said, Colts' last 2 wins were against the Raiders and the Bills. So not really credible teams to get your wins against. Luck has been playing very, very well, and I think he's going to play pretty well because he just plays well at home. But this Jags defense, if they have to make a play, I expect them to make a play. And Leonard Fournette is just a difference maker on the field. Even if he doesn't play that well, his presence is going to make the Colts all sorts of confused and kind of worry about game plan around him, which will then take the pressure off of Blake Bortles a little bit. And I think when Fournette has been hurt, I think a lot of teams have made Blake Bortles. They've been game planning for Blake Bortles almost because, I mean, T.J. Yeldon obviously was the running back, and then they signed Carlos Hyde. But I think Fournette coming back here is a huge boost. But I have the Jags winning as well. I got them winning 23-21 in a close one. I still like the Colts going forward, but I think the Jags win this game just because I think they're just a better flat-out team.
Both have the Jags winning by 2. Want your prop bets out there. But, yeah, this Colts defense allowed a Raider team that scored 3 points against the 49ers to put up almost 30 against them. And with Leonard Fournette coming back, this is a good chance for the door to open for the Jaguars offense and get that ball rolling again, similar to how they had it earlier in the year. And their defense is just much better than Indy's. So if they could score, which is very possible to score against an Indy team, their defense should make the plays they have to win this game. Next game, big battle in the NFC North when the Lions travel to Chicago. Bears laying 6.5 points here at home, over under 44. Before the season, everybody was talking about how good this Bears defense will be, and they have been. You can't take anything away from that. But I think the real story with the Bears is the offense that ranks 6th in the league in points per game. They have scored at least 30 points in 4 of their last 5 games, scored 24 in the game they didn't, but still got the win. And the Lions come in banged up on defense. They got no Darius Slay. Zeke Ansah was questionable. Hopefully they can see him out there. But when you look at it as a whole, this game just seems like it's going to be too much for Detroit to handle on the road. They're 1-3 on the road. Bears are 3-1 at home. Their only loss came because West Virginia legend again, Kevin White, catches a Hail Mary on the 1-yard line and can't get the ball in the end zone.
Well, and because they played Patriots.
And they played the Patriots.
So that has something to do with it.
Get the ball in. But I think Trubisky has a chance to have another good game here. And I got the Bears winning this one, 27-20.
So you have them just covering.
Yep.
So,
but I don't think the score is as close as that looks.
I hear you now. I think the Darius Slay injury for the Lions is huge, and I think Trubisky could have a big day, and then that's not really a good thing for the Lions since they're the worst rush team in the league. Don't forget about that. Yeah. But for some reason, I think this Lion team, who isn't very good on the road, but at the end of the day, they have Matthew Stafford, who is a gamer, and with the 6.5 points, I think for an NFC North game where the Lions need it, they just traded away Golden Tate. I know they're probably don't have their eyes set on the playoffs like the Bears do, but an NFC North matchup, divisional games are just always closer, and the Lions know the Bears. The Bears know the Lions, and I think the Lions actually cover in this one. Bears, like you said, getting healthy. I mean, they're getting Mack back. They're getting Allen Robinson back. But something's just telling me the Lions are going to cover this one, and I have the final Bears winning, but I got them winning 23-20. And I think it's going to be. I think it's probably the Bears will be covering come the final drive, and it's more of a garbage time touchdown by the Lions to cover it. But I think the score won't indicate the way the game goes. I think Chicago will kind of dominate the game, but I just think Matthew Stafford, who's kind of been a garbage time king when
like
it comes
Bortles of 2016 or 15, whenever that was.
I could just see them kind of just hitting a touchdown in the last minute, just where the Bears aren't really playing for much and covering. So yeah, I got 23-20 Chicago.
Okay. Next game, biggest storyline I think is actually not going to be anything with the players on the field, but the coaches. When the Patriots travel to Tennessee and Mike Vrabel to get his first shot at his old coach Bill Belichick here, and Vrabel has done what you would almost expect him to do as a coach. He has his defense playing spectacular. They're only allowing 17.6 points per game. And he has his team in every game. I feel like every Titan game I watch is very close. But the problem comes on the offensive side of the ball, where they're only scoring 16.8 points a game. And that's not going to cut it, especially when you got the Patriots coming into town. Patriots keeping up their bend, don't break defense. They're going to allow Tennessee to score, but it'll be field goals. You know, they don't really allow the big play or touchdowns. They're hard to come by against New England. And the Patriots have just been too good recently, and while the Titans have hung in almost every game, kept them close, I think they find a way to keep this one close at home against a hot Patriot team, but they don't have enough to beat them. I got New England winning 24-16.
This Titan team, and every week we say this, is just a weird team. And that's the only reason I took them last week to cover against the Cowboys, and they ended up winning. I mean, no one saw that coming, and that's just the Titans. No one sees anything coming. When you think you figured them out, you didn't. And I think the only reason this line is 7 is because they won last week, obviously, and people are probably buying into that defense, who is pretty good. I'll give them credit on the defensive side of the ball. But like you said, they're only averaging 17 points per game, and that's not going to cut it against the Patriots, who's averaging 30. And, I mean, that's right where the over-under sits, 47. This Patriots team is just too much. They have too many playmakers. They're not going to have Rob Gronkowski, but, I mean, we saw him the last couple of weeks without him. That doesn't really bother them. They're getting Sony Michel back this week, which, when you have to worry about Sony Michel in the run game, that just opens up a whole new can of worms when you have to you're trying to confine him, and then Tom Brady does what he does. You know, the last 2 weeks when he's been out, they've kind of been able to sit back and game plan around Tom Brady because Cordell Patterson was running the ball, and James White. But that's not a Sony Michel back. Sony Michel, his presence, even if he doesn't play that well, his presence is going to be huge for them this week. There's just too many playmakers on the Patriots. They're just too good of a team. There's a lot of familiar faces between these two teams, not just the coaching staff, but the players. This is going to be a big game. I don't think Bill Belichick lets this game get away from him, although the Titans will be motivated. But I have the Patriots winning 23-10 in this one.
Okay. Both have New England covering then, but I just at a point where I almost refuse to bet a football game that the Titans are playing in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crapshoot.
They find a way to keep it close, just no matter who they're playing. Next game, I think, is actually just going to say a lot for me to say, because if you listen to the show weekly, you know I hate the Redskins, but the Redskins traveling to Tampa, and I actually think this is going to be a very good game, probably one of the better games of the week, honestly, to watch. And Redskins getting 3 points here in Tampa. The Redskins defense that has been playing well is something that I never really bought into. Half the reason why I loved the Falcons last week, who dominated them. I think the two of the better offenses they faced with the Falcons and Rams, they've allowed 43 and 38 points to them in both blowout losses. And while Tampa Bay's offense has been very good, scoring over 28 a game, it's something I don't buy into completely. But when I look at this game as a whole, look at the matchup, Redskins loaded with injuries, especially on the offensive line, Trent Williams, and they're costly. But when I look at this game as a whole, even though I kind of just shitted on the Redskins defense, not buying into them, I think their defense is actually the difference in this game. Alex Smith, who you all know I hate, has a real good chance to put up some points on the board here. The Redskins sitting at 5-3 are still in contention in this NFC East and leading it, so definitely in contention. And they have a chance to get a road win here. Alex Smith has a chance to put up points, and I think he's going to. And the defense for the Redskins will actually make a couple plays on Fitzpatrick, and I think it'll be enough for the Redskins to get a road win here, 28-24.
Yeah, first game we're going opposite, and I can't figure this Redskins team out. I really can't. Last 2 weeks I picked the Giants, Redskins won. I picked the Redskins last week, and the Falcons won. So for you guys listening, I'm going to pick the Bucks. So the Redskins will probably win because I really can't figure them out. Last week I raved about their defense and how Clinton Dix is going to slide right in, and they're going to continue to play well, and then they get gashed by the Falcons for 38. And I'm sitting here once again not knowing what this team is. And a lot of people don't know what this team is. They're sitting at 5-3, right in the thick of things in the NFC East. But their strong suit was their defense. And you saw the Redskins last week not be able to put up the points that the Falcons did. And this Bucs team, even though they got out of the gates last week, they got blown out. But then they put up points. I mean, that overhit in that game against Carolina because Fitzpatrick made plays. This offense is good. They can score. And The Redskins can't. They can score, but they can't win in a shootout. And
It's their chance to score, though.
it is, because this Bucs defense isn't very great. But this Redskins team, I don't think has enough to win a shootout. But a big reason for it is because they're going to be without 4 of their starters on their offensive line. And as bad as the Bucs defense is, that's not going to bode well for Alex Smith and Adrian Peterson and those guys on the Redskins. I think Fitzpatrick plays well or good enough. I think they put up a decent amount of points here that Alex Smith can't hang with, especially Alex Smith traveling to Tampa Bay. The Skins are decimated by injuries, so for that reason, I'm going with the Buccaneers winning this game 31-24.
So we both like points in that one. Over-unders 50.5. Both of our scores hit that over. Last of the early games here. Saints traveling to Cincinnati. Saints laying 5.5 points, over under 54. And if I learned anything from watching the Saints last week, it's that their number one rush defense is really legit. They were able to keep Todd Gurley in check, which really helped them get that win. Bengals have cooled after their hot start, but coming off the bye with extra rest, but when you look at this game as a whole, no A.J. Green against one of the league's worst pass defense is very costly. That's, I think, your chance if you're Cincinnati to capitalize on New Orleans, especially playing at home. But the Saints are just on a roll right now. There's no signs of them slowing down, especially after last week. I know they're going to a Cincy environment that could get very hostile, but Drew Brees and this whole team is playing too good. The injuries on the Bengals are costly. Not having A.J. Green against this pass defense hurts a lot because he really would have had a chance to put up some big numbers here, I think. And I got the Saints winning this one 35-24.
Very interesting game here. And the Saints coming off a massive win at home against the Rams. Bengals sitting at 5-3, welcome them into Cincinnati. And this line at 5.5 is interesting, especially with no A.J. Green. And all week, I was on Cincinnati plus the points. It was up to 6, now it's at 5.5. I saw it as low as 5, now it's back up to 5.5. And I think a big reason for it is the Saints are obviously a different team outside and obviously a different team on the road. They're sitting at 7-1, but they, as a team, they're different on the road. Drew Brees hasn't thrown for more than 220 yards on the road this year, other than Atlanta, which he was playing a horrible defense and inside in a divisional game, so obviously he knows that team. But I think this game is going to go a lot like when they traveled to Baltimore and they won by 1 point because Justin Tucker missed an extra point. I'm not going to talk about that. But I have a feeling, I don't think that a lot of people are calling this the trap game, and they're coming off a huge win, and they're traveling to a Bengal team. It's a 1 o'clock game outside in Cincinnati. I think if there's going to be a game that could be close and that they come out of the gates a little flat, I think this could be it. Even with no A.J. Green, the Bengals at home are a better team when they obviously are home than on the road. And, they're welcoming in a 7-1 team. They're going to be playing motivated, and they got to keep up with the Steelers. And I don't have the Bengals winning this one, but I think the Saints, with all the Dez stuff happening, with them signing him and getting hurt, I think there's just been a lot going on in New Orleans this week. I actually have the Bengals covering here. I have New Orleans winning, and I'm going to say right now, I have the Saints as a Super Bowl favorite right now. I loved them last year. I love them this year. But this is just a weird game. Going to an AFC North team, the AFC North is just a different breed. And Drew Brees has to be ready. I think Dalton's going to be ready. And, you saw the Saints' defense last week to Jared Goff. They let up some points. So Dalton could have a good game. Saint Rushdie, which is number 1 in the league, they're going to be set out to stop Joe Mixon, so it's going to be on Dalton, which usually I don't bet on. But I think the Bengals do enough to cover here, but the Saints are too much for them. I have the Saints winning 27-23, so covering just enough.
Wow. just inside the line.
Yep.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
All right, getting into our later games here, our 4 o'clock Eastern time. Start off with the Chargers going to Oakland. I'm pretty sure I've said it every show. I'm going to say it again, how the Chargers were my preseason Super Bowl pick. And they're on a huge win streak right now, and actually in a race with Kansas City for that AFC West division, which is unbelievable the way Kansas City has been playing, I think. I have no reason why the Chargers don't win this game against a Raider team that has just been brutal and got demolished to a San Francisco team, starting a quarterback for a guy making his first career start. Chargers red hot. I don't see how, even at home, Oakland could win this game or even keep it close. And I'm picking my Super Bowl pick, and I'm taking the Chargers here, 27-10.
That's pretty close to their last matchup. Their last game, Raiders lost 26-10.
Okay,
So that's a point off.
Look at that.
That's a point off from 4 weeks ago when that game was in LA. Now this Charger, obviously both teams going in opposite directions. Chargers favored by 10 on the road, and coming off a win in Seattle that they had to earn, and they're lucky that Seattle receiver decided to drop the ball in the end zone. But this Charger team is obviously better in every aspect of the game. Chargers offense could have an absolute field day against this Oakland defense. This Oakland team is just bad. Their defense is just horrific, and you saw that last week when they just got blown out by the Niners. But I actually think the Raiders at home can put up some points here. Not that many, but I think they can put up some. I have the Chargers covering the 10. I have them winning by 14. I have the score being 34-20. But this Raiders team is bad. But I think Derek Carr, a lot of garbage time points here. This Charger team is legit. They can win the AFC West even with the Chiefs there. But there's no reason the Chargers let this one slip. And I'm going with the Chargers by 14.
Yeah, well, you like the over, I like the under there with our scores, and my score actually has this game way under right now, but as I always say, Barstool Big Cat shout out, life's too short to bet the under, so maybe go Chaz is over there. All right, back to the Packers here. I talked about them at the start of the show, and now we'll get to their game where they're hosting the Dolphins at Lambeau Field. As I mentioned earlier, we've seen Aaron Rodgers in this spot before, about midway through the season. His team, game or two under 500, and we have seen him get hot in the second half of the season and really get this team on a playoff push. And I think this is a perfect game for Aaron Rodgers to really get his team rolling at home against the Dolphins. He has a chance to really beat this team up. The Packers are winning 10 points here. Brock Osweiler once again getting the start for Miami because we don't know when Ryan Tannehill's ever going to come back if he does. And the 10 points here I actually love. Aaron Rodgers is just going to, like I said, do what he can. He's going to get this team going. His receivers are lost Geronimo Allison for the season, but Randall Cobb's got to be close to back to fully healthy. Devontae Adams has been having a spectacular year.
They got MVS, baby.
That's it. And then
Fantasy
your
squad.
boy right there.
Fantasy.
But I think Aaron Rodgers, big game here, and I got the Packers winning easy. I think it's actually something that could get the ball rolling for them. You won't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers in this playoff push because it's Aaron Rodgers. I got 31-13.
We're on the same page here. And Packers favored by 10 when they're sitting at 3-4-1. The Dolphins are 5-4 is funny to look at, but this Dolphin team is coming into a scenario that they really don't want to come into. When you look at this Green Bay schedule, they entered the gauntlet in a 5-game stretch. They went to the Rams, they lost. They went to New England, they lost. They come home from Miami, and then they got to hit the road again at Seattle, at Minnesota. And that's tough. And that doesn't bode well for Miami. They're coming home for one home game out of 5. And the Packers need this win, and not only this win, but they need to kind of right the ship here and just beat up on the Dolphins because they should, and two, they need it. They dropped two in a row, and I think this is the Aaron Rodgers coming out game. I think he has a massive day. I don't think he's played up to his caliber this year, and I think this game, I think he does. And this Dolphin team is in for a long day, I think. And kind of like the Bears score where you said, I think the score doesn't really dictate how the game is played. I think that is the same case here. I have the Packers covering. I have them winning 24-10. They're just going to be too much for this Dolphins team, especially, it's Brock Osweiler. But the Packers know what's at stake here. They know they have to go to Seattle, Minnesota the next 2 weeks. If they get this win, they're back to 4-1, and they give themselves a shot. But if they lose this week, they're going to be 3-5-1 with those 2 road games up in front of them, and it's going to be a long flight to Seattle, to say the least. And so I think they take care of business here. I got them winning by 14.
Well, same page there. Next game, what I think is the one spread I can't figure out. I think it's too many points here. Seattle traveling to the Rams. Rams laying 9 points at home against this Seahawks team, and I think 9 is way too much for this game. Both teams coming off tough losses. We saw the Rams pick up their first loss of the season against the Saints. Seattle fell just short of their comeback against the Chargers, dropped pass in the end zone with a chance to tie the game up on a 2-point conversion. But when you look at this game, the team's defenses are very similar. Seattle's being a little better, which I think allows Russell Wilson to score some points and keep his team in the game. The first time these two played in Seattle, which is obviously a lot tougher to go to Seattle. But Seattle kept it close. They only lost the game by 2, 33-31. And I kind of see a similar score here. I think, like I said, I think Russell Wilson should be able to score some points against this defense again. But coming off a loss, I think it's the Rams are just to come out trying to get that ball rolling again, get hot again. And the Rams offense, as we've been saying all year, they're just too good. McVay is an offensive genius if you haven't been able to figure that out by now. And I don't see them losing, but like I said, Russell Wilson keeps this one close. I got the Rams 31-27.
This is the only game that, was a 10-point spread. There were a couple this week. This is the only one I don't think that covers. I'm with the Seahawks with the points. They should have won the first matchup in Seattle.
They should have.
And they lost by 2 points, which was a heartbreaker for them. But this team matches up well with the Rams. And it's another divisional game, no matter what division you go to, those games are usually played, whether it's like the AFC North and they're low scoring, you go to the NFC South and you need 50 points to win. Whatever division you go to, divisional games are just close because every team knows each other so well. I think a big factor here, though, is Chris Carson's health. And I know he left the game last week. He's questionable for this week, but he gashed the Rams last time they played. I think if he's active, I think he could have another big game. But the Seahawks, I'm a believer in them. Last week I picked them to beat the Chargers. It took a drop touchdown from Seattle to not either send that game to overtime or win that game. I'm still on that boat. I don't think because they lost last week, I don't think this team's dead yet. I think it's going to make them even hungrier this week. And I think the game that these two teams played a couple weeks ago that they let slip from them, I think is going to be in the back of their head. I know the Rams are coming off a loss, so everyone's going to think they're coming home and going to blow out the Seahawks team. I don't see it. I got the final 28-23 Rams. I think the Rams win, but I think the Seahawks give them everything they have.
Yeah, I just don't see this being outside a 2-score game, and you could get 2 scores here. But you just never know with the Rams. But yeah, I think Seattle keeps it close, and that brings us into prime time. Sunday night, Dallas traveling to Philly, and all year on the show I've been saying how Dallas at home, I'm going to pick them to win. Dallas on the road, I'm going to pick them to lose. And for the first time, that failed on me last week when Tennessee just walked into Dallas, and it looked like Dallas didn't even drive to their own stadium. They had a chance to actually put that game away early, the way Tennessee was turning the ball over, and only had 7 points to show for it. Now they have to go to Philly in prime time. Philly going with their blackout, which, for some reason always brings out extra out of Philly. They always come out ready to play in that game. And with Washington loaded with injuries, too, Philly knows that division is really in reach. I still think they're the best team in that division, with or without the injuries on Washington. I would still tell you Philly's going to win that division. And I think the Eagles win with ease here. This team is going to hit their stride eventually. It's coming very soon if it doesn't come this week. And I got Philly 26-14.
The Eagles are getting a Cowboy team coming into Philly that are wounded, and I think this week they can kind of put the knockout punch on the Cowboys. Zeke came out and said it this week. It's a must-win for the Cowboys, and this Eagles team knows what's in front of them. They know the Redskins lost last week. They're going on the road to the Bucs, where they can easily lose that game. The Cowboy team lost last week, and it was a terrible loss. Like you said, they scored on the first drive to Amari Cooper, and then after that, they just looked like they just left. Like, it was a very poor showing from the Cowboys, and now they have to go to a blackout Sunday Night Football in Philly. They're going to be ready to go there. Eagles lost their last 2 home games. They're not losing the third in a row. The Link is too hard of a place to play. And this Cowboys team, I don't think can put up enough points to stay with this Eagles team. I think this is a beatdown, and the Eagles put the Cowboys in place. This could be the game that leads to Jason Garrett being fired. Because he's on a tightrope here, and going to Philly is not where he wants to go. And not to mention, it's first game Golden Tate gets to play for the Eagles. So
Philly beats them enough. That puts Garrett really on the hot seat, I think.
Exactly.
Could cut him mid-season.
Yep, and I don't think Jerry Jones is going to hesitate with that. This Cowboys team is they need something new, and this Eagles team is going to, I think, put the knockout punch, like I said, on them. I got the Eagles winning 31-10.
Yeah, so we both see an Eagles slaughter possibly coming.
Yeah, in Philly, it's...
As a Giant fan, I had to watch the Giants go into this blackout a couple years ago on Sunday night, and I watched Philly slaughter them 27-0, so I honestly won't be surprised to see that type of game either.
No.
You just never know with this Dallas team. And last but not least, my Giants playing on Monday night again in a game that might even be worse than the Jets and the Bills. New York football just not looking good this year. Giants traveling to San Francisco. San Fran laying 3.5 points here. And I don't have much. I think the Giants are actually going to win this game. Last time, and I picked them to win against Washington. Did not go that well, as you can tell, but Chris Mullins, rookie quarterback for the Niners, I think struggles here. He's bound to throw a couple picks. He had a very good debut, but the Giants' defense is much better than Oakland, and I'm not saying the Giants' defense is good, but you're going against Oakland's defense to the Giants. There is a difference there. I think they can make this rookie quarterback struggle a little. And I don't think this game is going to be pretty by any means to watch, but I'll say the Giants find a way to win this one 17-13.
I do not care about this game at all. And I mean,
it's
I
don't even know. It's 1-7 versus 2-7.
It's ugly. And if there's a game the Giants are going to win, I would think it's this one against a third string quarterback. I know Nick Mullins played well last week. I don't know if he can do an encore. 3.5 points is a lot for two terrible teams, I think, even though they're home. I'm not touching this game, I can tell you that right now. But I picked the Giants against the Redskins too, and obviously that didn't work out. But there's going to be a game the Giants win this year again to get to 2 wins. It's going to be against a third-string quarterback.
I think, the Giants will find a way to win 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, and I think Odell and Saquon are just too good of playmakers. I think the Giants can pull this one out, but I'm not touching it, and I really don't care about this game.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to watch. But that's Monday night. Unfortunately, that's what we're stuck with. You can't change that. And as gamblers, I'm sure you'll be able to find something to gamble on in that game. Monday night props is usually a good way to go. Bet Saquon to score a touchdown, so I'm sure he'll find a way to get in. And, well, that's all our games. Now, this is the tough part. We have been on a roll recently. 5-1 again last week, like I said at the beginning of the show. We went 4-2, 4-2, 5-1 in the last 3 weeks. Overall record's up to 22, 11-3. But we were talking before we did this show, and we think that this is a very tough week. And I think the NFL is just trying to slow us down, and we got to keep pushing through.
I agree. This is a tough one, but I mean, I think there's some stuff out there that we'll like. I mean, we've been hot, and like I told you, we might. I think the luck is going to want to go against us, but we, like you said, got to push through it and got to take some games that you might not have taken last week that you take this week. But I mean, I got a couple here that I think are going to obviously are locks, but you're going to start us off this week since I went first last week. So interested to see who your locks are this week in a very tough week. Yeah,
I marked down a good 5 or 6 picks, but kind of after just going through the show this week, I got my 3 that I'm actually feeling rather comfortable with. I know you're not going to like the one, but that's a game we'll see. But where they go back to a team we talked about twice already in Green Bay, I think Green Bay laying the 10 points is a lock. Like we keep saying against Green Bay, like I keep saying too, Aaron Rodgers has a chance to get this team back on the right track here, and it's a perfect game to do it home against a Dolphin team, starting Brock Osweiler again, who has been is a struggle to watch, and I think they can beat them by over 2 scores easily. I actually have them winning by 3 scores. Pick number 2, the one you're going to disagree with here, but I don't see the Redskins losing this week. I really don't see them losing to Tampa Bay. And they're getting 3 points. So even if they do lose, I could afford them to lose by a field goal, still get a push. But I see them winning this game. I think their defense is going to make a couple more plays. Alex Smith has a chance to finally put up some points here. And I think he does it. As much as I can't stand the guy as a quarterback, he's been good in the regular season for whatever team he's on, and just finding a way to get his team wins without getting the numbers. And this is a game I think he finds a way to get them to win. And my third and final one is I'm going to my boy Matt Ryan, who has been taking very care of my fantasy team. And I'm not even going to Atlanta. I'm just looking at the over in that game at 50.5. I think Matt Ryan has a chance to score in the mid to high 30s. I won't even be shocked if he scores 40 in that game. Over-under's 50.5, and the Falcons' defense just isn't shutting anybody out. Baker Mayfield should be able to get that Browns team to score a couple touchdowns, get a couple field goals in with that, and I think that over 50.5 in Atlanta and Cleveland hits rather easily. That's actually the one I love most this week.
All right, so I had one of those down. I had the Green Bay as one of my backups. I actually didn't take either any of my top 3. The first one you're going to agree with. The second one, don't think you will. The third one, you will. So number 1 lock this week, Jags +3 against Indy. We both agreed on that we think the Jags are going to win, but I think them +3 I think is definitely. I think it's my number 1 lock this week. I think they win that game, and I don't see Indy being able to handle that defense this week. So Jags +3, number 1. Then I got the over. I'm doing this only because a couple weeks ago I took the over in this game and it didn't hit, so I'm going to make them beat me twice. I'm taking the over in the Chargers and Oakland game at 50.5. Oakland's home this time, so I'm hoping they can put up 17 points is my magic number. 20 if I'm lucky. This Chargers team could easily put up 40 points this week. So over 50.5 in that game. And then my last one is Sunday Night Football. Eagles -7. I think it's going to be a slaughter. I think that one hits easy too. So Jags +3, over 50.5 in the Chargers, and Eagles -7 are my locks this week. And I hope we keep the ball rolling here. And let's go 6-0 this week.
Yeah, and like I said, this seems like a tough week. Any winning week is obviously a great week, so 4-2 is huge this week. I was actually with you. I like the Eagles as my fourth pick for a lock, but they just missed my cut here, and that is all we have this week. Hopefully we keep the ball rolling, and we will be back again for you next week with a winning record still coming at you.